Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. It's me, Dr. Marla Goldberg, coming on live with Guided Spirit Conversations to bring you another fabulous show. But before we start the show, so much disaster has been going on across the world. Morocco, Libya. I know I'm probably missing some things that don't get broadcast. Let's start the show by sending some prayers and love and healing to those areas, to the people who have transitioned, for the animals that have transitioned, and those who have to start over again. I know it's a bit of a blessing and a curse. The curse is you lose everything, right? But the blessing is that now you got a blank canvas to create new memories and a new situation upon yourself. Just trust and surrender, and support will come. So thank you for doing that. And now, let me introduce Pauline Raphaela. Pauline is a doctor of metaphysical healing and a master energy healer. She has been divinely guided to serve as a healer, counselor, and teacher. She has helped many clients, from children to adults, take control of their lives by learning to love, heal, and empower themselves. Pauline understands that for transformation, one's primary human relationship must be with oneself. Through her own transformation, Pauline became a vessel for miraculous healings and continues to facilitate healings in private practice for over 23 years. In her new book, The Little Blue Room, Awakening the Soul to Love, Joy, Freedom, and Power, Pauline describes her journey of healing and awakening through crisis, illness, revelation, and surrender as God guided her to true life purpose. Pauline's life work is to assist in the evolution of humanity with the help of many benevolent galactic races, angels, and master guides. Love of animals and nature inspires her to be a part of the evolutionary process on Earth for the betterment of all living creatures. Now a pioneer of metaphysical healing, integrating mind, body, and soul, Pauline has a BS in human resource management. As I mentioned before, a doctor of metaphysics, master energy healer, herbalist, and thought field therapist. Pauline's trained in TM, Transcendental Meditation. She's also a galactic channel and seer. Let's welcome Pauline. How are you?
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Marla. I'm very well, and thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited, and I did my apologies off this, the show, that Pauline was my guest on the week that I broke my hip. And so I'm so grateful that you were gracious enough to come back.
Oh, of course. I'm happy that you're healing. Most important.
Thank you. But let's talk all things Pauline. You had a period in your life where you were challenged. Did you have awareness of your spiritual abilities, your psychic abilities before this, and then really opened up after you went through this challenging period? Or did you open up from this challenging period?
Yeah, I was not aware of any of the gifts that we all have, right? So always the awakening, the crisis, and the awakening that brings it forth. I was, however, very aware of spirit. Okay, I somehow always believed in the afterlife. I always believed in magic or healing. I believed in ghosts. I would use that word. Spirit at the times, and believed in reincarnation. So the metaphysical world, although I didn't know that's what it was called, or I did believe in it. But I had no idea that who I am today is who I set out to become so many decades ago.
It's amazing because you don't realize the journey and the changes, because sometimes they're just really very subtle.
Yes.
Yeah. And so here you are 23 years plus later.
Mhm.
Not to age you, I put the plus in because I don't know the exact amount. But you mean you went from being, I'm going to assume, a human resource manager,
Yes.
and then you had this huge shift in your life based on, so you had some crisis and illness and heavy duty stressful situations going on.
Yes. So, I've been on this path, this actual healing path and awakening path since 1988. And that's the first crisis, of course, or so I thought, was, the death of my father. Death can bring us all into crisis, a death of a loved one. And then a second divorce at that time. But the divorce was
Mm.
actually spiritually guided, believe it or not. And so, and then illness pursued after that. And there's a whole series of explanations that I don't want to take a lot of time to talk about now. You can read them in the book. But yes, it all kind of happened, one thing after the next. And I became very ill, and no doctor could diagnose me or help me. And it was through meeting a healer in 1993 that I was healed. And this was before any of us really knew,
Yeah.
about spirit, about energy healing, about the possibility of having something miraculous heal you other than, conventional medicine.
To alternative methods. We were not aware of alternative
We
methods.
weren't. And I will tell you what roused I guess, my intuition. I was at the movies, and there was a movie way back when called It's My Life, with Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton has cancer in the movie, and his wife sends him to all different kinds of doctors and gurus and healers to try and heal. In one of the last scenes in that movie, Michael Keaton's on the table, and there's a Chinese man, an Asian man, running his hands over him like this, saying, "You have to forgive, you have to forgive, you have anger." And it was that healing, this healing. I looked to my partner and I said, "I don't know what that is, but that's what I need to heal me. We have to find that." And he said, "Well, we'll go to the Orient, we'll do whatever we need to do." 3 weeks later, I met a healer at a black tie affair.
Isn't it amazing? They go to black tie affairs too.
And she was running her hands up and down my body under the table because I was exhausted. I looked horrible, and because I was ill, and I had so many different illnesses going on. And she healed me. And the awareness that came from that was so much of the past, the situations and circumstances that I had experienced were still unhealed. They were unresolved. And it was like, I'm 20 pounds of energy in a 10-pound bag, and
Yeah.
the bag is bulging, and it can't handle all this excess energy, weight, and emotions and all of that. And that's when it really all started.
It's amazing where you find, I don't know if you heard my announcements, because I always talk to spirit. You've got, these beings on the other side. They want to do your bidding for you, but you have to be open to how it comes to you.
Yes.
And you were open to this woman
Yes.
who you met at the black tie, who actually opened up that, as I heard, and I use that one-way door down your spiritual path.
Yes, yes. And at the time, I had gone back to school to finish my degree in human resource management. And my goal was, oh, I'm climbing the ladder up to be a human resource director. I was good at it. I was a great recruiter. I'm a great manager. And there I was, thinking that I was on my path to my life purpose, making a lot of money. Okay, yeah,
Right.
all of that. And then in a moment, I was completely rerouted.
And that's what it takes, is a moment, right? I mean, like my exit, in a moment, I'm on the ground. I'm on the floor of the shower. In a
Yes,
moment, all these things can happen that quickly.
yes, yes,
And that brings us to talking about mindfulness and being very aware of what's going on in your life and living your life with gusto, because you don't know, and tomorrow's not promised. And that yours is an example, mine's an example to people. Get on the road, get on that path, and find Pauline to help you, or me to help you with your
Right.
transition, your transformation.
Right.
And when I say transition, I'm not talking dead transition.
Right. Right. Not yet. Right. Not yet.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
So yes, I completely agree with you. You know, it first takes some mindfulness, some awareness, taking some steps, and then, you know, it's like I say, awakening leads to transformation, and transformation leads to evolution.
Yes.
Evolution leads to the change that we, the transformers, want to implement.
Yes. Great way of putting it. It is so perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
But
Go ahead.
I do. There is a point. I believe in the mindfulness. At least for me, we've got to connect upward.
Yes.
Because I had unknowingly bargained with God, and it's all in my book, and it's a very interesting story. I had bargained with God, with my father, and I said, look, I know, can't you heal him? But I know you're not going to heal him because he's filled with cancer and he's going to die. So the doctors said he's got maximum 2 years. And I said to God, if you give me the maximum amount of time with him, like, I'll do whatever you want, right? Marla, if you bring me on the show, I'll do whatever you want, okay? Well, little did I know that God would have his way with me when the time came. So
Yep.
on the route to human resources, and then completely rerouted. I hear spirit, so I began to hear God talk to me and just pull me off my path. Now that's not logical. And people have to understand that sometimes when you're following a higher path, it's not logical.
It's not.
It's intuitive. And then you have to trust it.
You have to surrender and trust, because if you're fighting it and trying to trust it, they're incongruent with each other.
Right.
So they walk hand in hand to bring you to that place where you start down your path, you start to heal, you start to transform, and all that goes along with it.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there that just fight it. They're going through such challenging times. And you know as well as I do today, there has not been more said about transformation, advancement, all of those things. And but now you can, there's no excuse not to be able to find someone to help you alternatively, because not all the Western philosophies do it for you.
Right.
Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree, and I think that because I'm a master herbalist too. One of the things I learned that our bodies inherently respond to plant medicine because it's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and our body is familiar with this from past lives. And so, allopathic medicine, more traditional medicine that we know, our bodies have not yet completely figured out what to do with some of these chemical substances. So when we start to become mindful, and when we start to take back our power to innately heal, because we all have that power, everybody's got an inner healer that can heal anything, cancers, tumors, depression, you name it, we can heal it. We just have to start taking steps. Okay. And be
Yes.
patient with ourselves, because it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think that that's where the self-love comes in, right, Marla? I'm going to love
Yes.
myself and be patient with myself, because God knows how many lifetimes too I've experienced all of this trauma, and it's going to take me a little time to heal it.
Yes. But it's a courageous thing for someone to do, in my opinion. Because let's face it, it's not like, okay, I do this and all of a sudden, you take a pill and it's like, oh, I feel better. No, sometimes you have to do the work to release, to get it to actually release out of your system, and it's not a prophylactic to repress the pain that one's dealing with.
Well, right. And look, everything has its place. I had a client who needed to go on, like an antidepressant temporarily, and it was temporary. And she's off it now and she feels better. And we continue to do the deeper work. And every time she leaves, she goes, I can't believe how much happier I feel. So, we're peeling back the layers. And,
Yes.
and even in my book, all right, Socrates writes, an unexamined life is not worth living. So, and you're right, courageous is the soul who looks deeper than the experience, but looks to the
Yes.
awakening of the experience.
Exactly. It's amazing. I want to change directions a little bit
Sure.
because not everybody who comes to us are open to what we do. It's almost like a dare, like I dare her to fix me. I dare her to do this or that. They're called skeptics.
Mm-hmm.
So how do work with skeptics or communicate with skeptics about what you do and how it works for them?
Yeah. Well,
or can work for them?
yeah, I'm very blessed in that everyone that comes to me is through referral. And so, there are some skeptics who say, well, I'm going to try this. And, one of the things I don't do is tell them how they're going to be afterwards.
Right.
Yeah. I tell them, look, you are actually in control of this. I'm really just a vessel. And you're in control of how much you want to heal and the pace at which you're going to heal. And so when I turn it back on them, it gets them thinking, yeah, how much do I really want to heal? And sometimes we have to break through the resistance. But the proof is in the fact that no one leaves my healing room without feeling an uptick. I do feel lighter. I do feel happier. Yeah, I feel much better now than I did, an hour ago. So there is their proof. And then it becomes their decision as to whether they continue. But the proof is there. And I always say people who don't really continue or have a lot of resistance, maybe they're just afraid. There is a secondary gain to not being well.
Oh, yeah, there's a definite benefit program for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And so it really is like a path of empowerment. So that's how I deal with the skeptics. And I also know for me as the healer, I'm not in control of it. I don't heal them. I'm the vessel through which energy flows for them to heal themselves. So I put that back on them.
Which is perfect because it needs to be put back on them. People come in and not everybody's like that. There are a lot of people, they just don't want to do the work. They want someone to snap the fingers like Bewitched.
Right.
You remember that TV show? And everything is all taken care of and clear and you're wonderful and healthy. And
yes.
No, it's the process. It's in the process where you find the richness of the healing.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely you do. And so when you're working with people, do you use specific tools or practices, in your toolbox that you take out?
Yes. Well, I'm trained in many modalities. At this point, since I've been in private practice for over 20 years, I was a pioneer healer back then, starting in like 1999. I learned kinesiology. I learned the mind-body connection. I learned Reiki. I learned light body work, transcendental meditation. I became a thought field therapist, working with tapping and thoughts. And so these are all the different tools that I have in my toolbox. I became a channel for galactic beings to transmit energy through light language. And so, and I now even use crystal healing bowls and Tibetan bowls in the process. So if I could say I've taken all of it and somehow just melded it into my own form of intuitive guidance or what that person's soul is telling me they need, that's how I work. I take the logic out of it.
Mhm.
And I take the system, the ABC, the methodical ABCDE steps. I take all of that out and I just follow what I'm guided to do. And sometimes I'm in trance as I'm doing it, and I don't even remember what I've done. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that I understand. And you just spoke about the galactic races. You spoke about master guides and angels and that you communicate. How do they step in and work with you while working with your clients?
They step in when I get out of the way and I let them come in. And I, because I can see energetically what's happening with someone. I take a step back and I can go into my third eye and just see where the light is moving and what's happening with them. The sessions can become very powerful. And
Yes.
I know that I'm holding space for them to be there, and they don't always show up. A person has to be ready for the type of healing and transformation they're going to receive. And that's sometimes it's
Yes.
not even conscious. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But if I call to them and it's appropriate, they will come. And I actually just take a step back and I watch all the different energies being transmitted to them, where it's going, which chakra it's going in, what's coming out. So it's kind of fascinating.
It's very cool because not only you're the healer, but you're the witness.
Yes. Yeah. And when someone says to me, I saw this, because a person can, in there while they're in trance, they can
Mhm.
also see it. And I've seen the same thing. Or I say to them, because they always ask me, what did you see? And I tell them, and they're like, oh my God, I saw that. Is that possible that I can actually see that? As of course it's possible. Of course it is.
It's confirmation of your abilities, right?
Confirmation that we're in sync, right? They're where I am, I'm
Yeah.
seeing it, they're feeling it, it's happening. And so for me, that's the biggest proof of anything.
I love that. And that's when they go away. How did you say it? Like a click higher or more than one click higher
Yes,
when they leave your table.
yes, yes. They get an uptick. They
Uptick. Thank
get
you.
an
I like
uptick.
that.
Yeah.
So, as a galactic channel and seer, elaborate on the information of the kind of information and messages you receive.
Mhm. So it's very varied. It depends on what I'm doing, if I'm doing an online event, or if I'm working one-on-one with someone, or if I'm sitting and looking into the Akashic records. And sometimes I'm just given information. If it's for someone, I will let them know. It could be, look, I was told, not to fly right now. I was told that.
Mm.
And so people ask me, what are you being told? I have seen certain visions forthcoming in the world, which I'm not at liberty to discuss at the moment. But
Of course.
they tell you all kinds of things, and it all depends on what's pertinent. But I think one of the things they're doing, whether you believe in them or not, first of all, there's no alien attack, but they're here to help us evolve by holding the vibration of love and higher consciousness that we don't have here on this planet. And they help us, what I call awaken the soul. They help us here. They're holding frequencies that we wouldn't be able to tap into on our own.
Yeah, it's true.
Even
I
healing
mean,
frequencies, because they show me different healing techniques. Perhaps I will write about this in my next book, as I was taken to Pleiades. So in my next book, I will talk about when I was taken to the star Pleiades and what happened after that, and how I'm shown different healing techniques that are not yet known.
right. And what happens? How many healers have created their own healing techniques based on collaboration
Yes,
with the other
with
side?
the other side. So whether they're guides, master guides, galactic beings, whatever we're open to, we get it.
It's so true. Let's talk about, I'd love for you to share a story about one of your most like aha kind of sessions with somebody and what they walked in with. You don't have to go into detail where I understand privacy, but and how what happened during the session and the change when they walked out.
Oh boy, let me see if I can quickly think of something.
Go through that database.
Yeah. There have been sessions where a cyst tumor was gone after that session, but let me say this. There was someone who came to my office. He had suicidal depression. We won't go into why, all of that. And the session was so powerful. Essentially, I was pushed out of the way. And I will tell you, Jesus Christ came into the room because I saw Jesus Christ. And as I saw the hologram of Jesus Christ in the room, the young man on the table said to me, "Oh my God, I see Jesus Christ." And he cried. And all of his depression was gone after that. That was, I'm getting chills as I'm talking.
Me too.
It was so miraculous. His mother called me crying, saying, he's fine. And I said, well, it wasn't me. It was something much bigger and higher than me. And it was his faith. And it was his belief and desire to actually want to heal. And he did.
That's a beautiful story. That is an absolutely
It is
beautiful
a
story.
book.
And I love when Jesus intervenes. He's done it for me personally a few times. And it's just like, thank you so
But
much.
what if it's just, we just need to ask and receive? What if it's just, we just need to ask and be able to receive it? What if it's as simple as that?
But isn't it as simple as that?
I believe it is as simple as that, Dr. Marla. I do.
Me too.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that. And that's what happened with me. And that's not something I'm going to take up the show time for, but yeah. And when you find a being coming into your sphere, whether it's in meditation or as you're doing your own healing work or someone's doing healing work on you, and just being open and receptive will allow those miracles, large and small, to happen for you in healing and transformation.
Yes.
And ascension.
Yes. Yes. And I love that you understand. See, those of us who have really gone through this and experienced it, we know that this is reality. This is real. This is our true reality.
And which it is. And so, and you wrote a book to help people. That's the Little Blue Book.
Yeah.
And so this book was written to help people, to learn your story. Yes?
Yes. It's to learn my story, but I believe I was guided to write this book. And I really was guided because I never thought of myself as an author. So it was God who guided me to write this book because there's a lot of stories. My journey is very relatable to many people. Okay. And so people have said to me, I can relate to so much of what you're saying because I've been through it. And so it's also a guidebook because there's so many subtle teachings in the book that help you realize there's hope, there's another way, something new is coming, this is how you do it, and this is the responsibility you have to take for yourself. And so it starts off obviously in crisis, and it ends up in complete sovereignty, power, and self-love. How do we get there?
Yes.
How do we get there? And be co-creators of our life. And as my new brand is, and learning to be living limitless, because isn't being limitless our true nature?
It truly is. And people say, oh, living on earth is hell. Why are we put here? Blah, 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 blah. And it's not, I truly believe it's not to be punished. I truly believe that we've chosen a lot of our situations.
I believe that.
In pre-birth planning so that we could heal them and get rid of them and move to the next level. But we also chose them to not hold us back, but to allow us to get through them, through whatever what process works, because we're all meant to live a beautiful, flowing, abundant, divine life.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you have to be Jeff Bezos with mega billions, but it's about living a life that's fulfilling and happy and joyful. And there's a piece of service in it too.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And when I was studying to become a doctor of metaphysics, in my dissertation, I wrote, if we are blessed, and this is, I'm going back a few decades now, if we are blessed with financial abundance, like the person you referenced, I'm talking about that mega degree of abundance, of
Yeah.
financial prosperity. What we really need to do is, one, thank God for it, because nothing comes, okay, from earth. If you have been given certain abilities, it's because God programmed you with those abilities. Number two, ask God what he wants you to do with that prosperity. And I guarantee you it will not be keeping it all for yourself and building more and building more and building more. It will be to transform human life.
Yeah. I really wish more people who have those large amounts of prosperity were aware of that and did more
Yes.
to help rather than holding it. Because guess what? When you die, you don't take any of it with you.
Yes. I met a man once. He was an attorney. He was an accountant. Um, he was very religious Hebrew, and he said to me, "If you die with more than $1,000 in your bank account, you haven't lived."
Interesting point.
Something to think about. Something to contemplate.
Yeah. There's so many people worrying about taking care of somebody else. So and this was my mother. She scrounged and she saved and, sacrificed her joy, her happinesses, her pleasures, things that she grew up with so she could leave a legacy for us.
Mhm.
Well, is that something that truly helps, or does it really get in the way of someone's growth?
Right. Right.
It's just something to think about as well. I don't know. Your conversation is triggering.
Yes. Well, if we are powerful
So,
co-creators and we're never in lack, then we have nothing to fear about losing anything.
exactly. It's so true. You know you're going to be taken
You know
care
you're
of.
going to be taken care of, and to help somebody else step into their power of co-creation as well.
So you mentioned Denise, and there was a miraculous healing with Denise. Can you elaborate on? Now you didn't mention her name in this show, but in what my background reading, there was a story about Denise. I'd love for you to share that.
Yes, and I can share that story because as I am developing my YouTube channel, Denise is going to come on and be a guest and tell the story from her perspective. And we'll say this: Denise had she had a I'll just get right to the calcification. She had a calcification in her salivary gland, in the submandibular gland, okay, down here, and it was causing infection. She obviously lost her taste. She had no saliva. Okay, she had pain, and upon taking X-rays or MRIs, they determined that calcification had formed around the facial nerve, and she had to have surgery because it was a life-threatening situation. So they had to do surgery, and she was told that surgery would potentially save her life, maybe not, but she would lose her sense of taste and smell. She would have facial paralysis. She would more than likely need a port, in her, for constant treatment. And Denise was very spiritual. And she came to me and she said, "This is my condition. This is what's going on. Can you help me?" And I said, and I was a sort of a novice healer at the time. And I said, I don't know. I said, "But if you have come to me and you believe in the power of God and your healing ability and whatever I can help you with, let's do it." And we did it. And 3 sessions over the phone, only 3 energy sessions over the phone. The last energy set. Now, the first 2 energy sessions, we were clearing out all kinds of stuff from her dad, all kinds of stuff from childhood. The last session, I was transmitting energy to that stone and I saw it crack. And I said to Denise, "The stone just cracked in your jaw." And she said, "I know, because I'm starting to salivate, and my saliva is gritty. It's like filled with sand." That
Wow.
was the stone. I saw the stone shatter. And I said, and she was having surgery the next day. I said, "Is there any way you can get an x-ray so that they know what's going on?" She tried. The doctor said no. He said, "What? The stone cracked?" "No, the stone didn't crack. You've got to go in for surgery." She went in for surgery. And when she came out, the doctor said, "What the hell happened?" He said, "You were right." He said, "That stone cracked. All we had to do was just clean it out. Your taste buds are fine. You will not have facial paralysis. You will no longer have infections. We did not have to remove the gland." Everything that the prognosis stated didn't happen. Today, she is healthy. She's well. She just has a little scar here. That's it. That was miraculous.
That's huge.
I mean, that was huge. It changed a person's life. Now, I write about in the book, I can't guarantee this is going to happen because I don't create it. That happens between a person's soul and God. But I was guided to write about these miraculous stories because people need to know it's possible. And I think when you believe, it is a first step.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And if people say, "Oh, well, if they could do it for this person, maybe." But the only right, exactly. The only caveat I say is you still need to be willing to be open to what happens and how it happens, because if you have an expectation, you may get in the way of your own healing because you say, "Oh, she should have used her right hand instead of her left hand."
Well, it's
just because of expectations.
Yes, it's very hard to know what our complete sort of karmic contract is here. Okay, it's very hard to know. Our soul has set up certain circumstances and lessons that we just don't get. We're just not privy to it all, right?
And nor should we be.
And nor should we be. Yes, because if I knew that, I was going to have to go through everything that I went through, I would say, "No, I don't want to do that." Why would I want to do that? So we learn and we grow strong.
It's true. So I guess the moral of the story is, if you want to work with a healer, please go in there with a positive, yes, I can attitude, or yes, we can together shift our situation, rather than, "I'm from Missouri and you need to prove it." Kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I know for me, going back to the skeptic situation, I had somebody who I was trying to be of service for. He had lung cancer. And I went in and said, "This is what I'm going to do. And I would love to try and help you in your situation." But here's the thing. Not only wasn't he it wasn't just skeptical, he was closed to the whole thing. So if somebody has a close sign on their energy, I say, "Okay, just keep doing you, because whatever is supposed to be, whatever you're setting yourself up for will happen." In this particular case, transition.
Right. And they have to be willing to work through that resistance. And
Absolutely.
that can be the first step, working through the resistance before the healing takes place.
Right. Because I know for me, it's really hard to, you as a healer, if you visualize, a ginormous boulder that with a rope around it that you're trying to pull to help someone else. And we shouldn't have to be doing this as healers.
Yes. And that would be exhausting too.
Well, it is because it's an energy
Yeah.
drain to all of us. So let's talk about self love a little bit because, well, I'm going to stop here. Wait, it's charity shout out
Okay.
time. My little internal bell went off.
Okay.
And so, as you know, I like to get the charities of my guests so that we can support the guest in an area, a not for profit that or a charity that they really want to support and help. And one of the ones you sent, because you gave us 3,
Mhm.
is Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Mhm.
So let's talk about Tunnels to Tower, what it does, how it helps, who it serves, and how people can support it.
Yes. I could even cry just talking about this. And Tunnels for Towers does incredible work. This organization serves our veterans who have returned from war and who are disabled, who have lost limbs, and they need living conditions, good living conditions, nice living conditions,
Special living
special
conditions.
living conditions, okay, to help them thrive given whatever disability they now have. And Tunnels for Towers build homes for these veterans and their families. And I can't think, I mean, there's so many amazing charities, but this is very near and dear to my heart because of the sacrifice that these people make. And no one wants to go to war, okay? Not even them.
Right.
So no one does. And when they have sacrificed so much, they deserve to be able to come home and have a safe, clean, beautiful place to live in which they can thrive.
And there's dignity attached to doing that for them.
Yes.
It gives their dignity back because it's very difficult. If you don't have what we as humans were meant to have, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hands,
Yeah.
2 feet.
Yes.
It's challenging and it can be very demoralizing.
Yes. And many of them have families, wives, and children. And this provides a home and an environment for family as well. Because oftentimes you see some of these families, there's so much love in
Mm-hmm.
these families, and they're just happy their daddy's home, right, or their wife is home, and they deserve it. So that is one that is very, very near and dear to my heart.
I haven't heard of this one before, but I have to say it pulls at my
It
heartstrings.
does. It does.
And it does because these people go and they do for us to keep us safe, to keep our world, our United States protected.
Mhm.
And yet when they come
Yeah.
home, they're not treated with the respect and honor that they deserve for what they gave up. Even if you come back with all your limbs intact, but yet there's PTSD.
Yeah.
And then they're demoralized because,
Yes.
oh, you have this issue or that issue.
Yes. And I have been blessed to work with a few veterans with PTSD, and I don't even want to charge them, and they pay me something anyway. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want anything. And they're like, no, this is, I want to give you something. They're just of a certain, it's a certain caliber to be so sacrificial, and we owe
Absolutely.
them something. That's the way that I feel.
I agree. I have to say, I've never thought of it in those terms, but yes, you're 100% correct in my world. I agree. We do owe them.
Yeah.
We do owe them to give them dignity and a life where they can live and, have the same type of amenities that we as able bodied
Mm-hmm.
people
Yes.
have.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm
Thank you
going to
for
look
mentioning
this
that.
up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it's so true. And it's just, they do so
Yeah.
much. So let's do something in return. And the website is T2T
Yes.
.org. T2T.org.
Yes.
So
Yes. And all they ask for is like $11 a month or something like that. I have mine on automatic payment now, so it's not a lot.
it's beautiful. And here's the thing, don't we all deserve a roof over our heads that's safe and secure?
Mhm. We do.
So it's just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I forgot was the last question I was I was asking before was charity shout out time. I got so excited about sharing this. Just went poof.
Yeah.
But tell me about your most challenging, not just miraculous, but so, a challenging situation. It doesn't have to be client. It could just be something you've gone through, but where you've shown yourself how you can come out the other side
Yes.
victorious.
So I think that is a great question. The story is in my book. Can I show the
Yeah, absolutely. Please show the cover.
the little
The
the
little
little blue room, awakening the soul to love,
blue.
joy, freedom, and power? That's it. The blue room. Go through the doorway, and you will ascend and transform. So one of my biggest or most challenging experiences was surrender. Now we surrender, and I had been surrendering and surrendering, but it came to the point. Here was my point in my life: married, we're financially secure, we have a beautiful home. The next step is creating a family. And I'm so mothering and I'm so nurturing naturally, right? I wanted to have a child. And that didn't happen out of my body. And there was no reason why it didn't. It just wasn't happening. And so then I decided I would adopt, right? I'm totally in my ego desire, okay? My ego desire of what I want. And we started to look at adopting children, and I wanted to adopt two. Back then, it was from Romania. And I had even met a woman who adopted a little girl from Romania, and I was like, oh, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. And so I began the adoption process, and as I started it and I was filling out the paperwork, I hear God's voice again, because God always talks to me at these pivotal moments, okay, of rerouting. And I heard, that's not the plan that I had for you.
Wow.
And it was in that moment, I screamed and I yelled and what do you mean that's not, why aren't I doing all of this to be, a mother and to teach children and educate them spiritually, all of that? Well, when God gives a command, he doesn't give it to you again. He now turns it over to you to use your free will or follow divine will. And I sat with it for a couple of weeks, and I spoke to my husband and at the time, and he was wiser than I was. And he said, well, why don't we just put it all in God's hands? And I thought, I guess maybe that's what we need to do. And after I did that, I came to my own true knowingness that I was not destined to be a mother of a child from my own body. I am everyone's mother. I am Mother Earth. And there are children, and Spirit said this to me once, there will be children that will come into your life that you will see them as your own. And because I was able to see that every child is ours to love, it doesn't have to be from our own body. It doesn't matter what color they are, what background, it doesn't matter. When we have passed that test, we almost don't need to have them, because then you become more of sort of like Earth Mother. And that's who I became. And it was very shortly after that happened that the miracles happened in my healing practice. So by surrendering the thought that we should have children, whether through my body or adoption, surrendering that and letting it go, my vessel became very powerful, because now it wasn't going to be used for motherhood. It was going to be used for healership. That was a very challenging thing to let go of. But ultimately I did.
It's a hard story. I mean, it's a beautiful story, and it's a hard story because, you know that when you desire to have a little one in your home, and it doesn't happen, whether it is fertility, whatever it might be, and then you surrender and just allow it to happen. I know from my own life, I couldn't have children. I adopted my first husband's children. And it's funny because there's somebody in my life who keeps saying it's different when you have your own to when you adopt or, are an in-law to a child. But I think we can influence people's lives, no matter what the age, whether they're 6 months or 60 or 600 years old. I'm being facetious, but but that we can still go in and make the same kind of impression, positive, nurturing, loving impression, whether they come out of like you said, come out of body or not. And I truly believe we can do that.
And what if that's the purpose? What if that is the purpose with that person? There is a young man in my life right now who I've only recently met, and we have so much in common. We're both Capricorns. We both lost our mother. He's much younger than I am. But we both lost our mother in August of 2021. Wow. And I am guided to be this young man's spiritual mama. And that's what he calls me. Yo, spiritual mama. Because I'm guiding him in a way that his actual biological mother couldn't. I know this is the role that I'm playing in his life. He's my spiritual son. He is my child. I am here to love him. I am here to help him, guide him. He's enormously talented. And then there are others similar to that in my life. Okay. Yeah. So I am a mother, but I don't have to pay college tuition.
I like that. But spiritual tuition.
That's okay.
There we go.
That's okay.
So we're winding up on the show. We've got a little bit of time left, just enough time for me to give you the platform to talk about anything that I haven't asked you about, that I haven't mentioned, but that's really burning. It's a burning desire to share with the audience. Yes. So I'm going to leave it to you, Pauline.
Thank you so much. You're such a professional, and I have so enjoyed meeting you and being with you today. If I do hold online classes. So if you want to become part of that, on my events calendar listing, you can find me on my website, paulineraphaela.com, and send me a message or sign up for my newsletter. You can also follow me on Instagram, Pauline Raphaela, Awakening the Soul. My YouTube channel is going to be really wonderful because I'm really going to do a lot of little snippet teachings on there and offer a lot of things. So you can find me there. I do Salt Cave healings. I did Lionsgate healings. I have another event coming up online, healing the ethereal body. Okay, this is a healing ancestral patterns. And so you can connect with me there and just be on my events calendar. And if you're local, great. And if you're afar, then there's offerings for that as well. And just become part of the community.
So when you're doing some of these classes, do you allow it to be virtual at the same time as there might be in-person people doing to a class, or is it separate and in person, and then you might do a repeat as a virtual?
Some of the energy teachings have to be in person, but the online classes are all spiritual teachings, and then there's always some type of incredible meditation, transformational energy healing, shifting timelines, whatever we do. And everyone's welcome. There are people who are local who sign up for that. They love it because they don't have to leave their home. And then there's other people that are signed up from out of state. And so we do video like this, video conferencing. I set up the chat, and everybody has something to say and input, and I'm blessed to have a loving community of people who have also friended each other and support each other.
I love that. And that's the best part about learning. Not only do you learn something that you can help somebody else with, but you create community. You meet people throughout the course of all these classes. You've taken a number of classes. I've taken a number of classes, and the community is huge.
And
And it's great for support.
yes,
And also great for asking those inquiry mind kind of questions that come up, and somebody can give you an answer without you waiting too long for that to help you
yes.
continue to move forward, not get stuck.
Yes, because I always, I'm a visionary and I am a seer. So I say, well, okay, so what happens when everyone has the ability to heal themselves, right, and be healed,
Mm-hmm.
and so much of the baggage is gone, and we're living in higher levels of consciousness? Then what do we create? Then what is the world that we create from that?
Nirvana. That's what came to me.
Yes.
Nirvana.
Yes.
That's so beautiful, Pauline. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for being on the show, sharing your wisdom, sharing your stories, and popping up your new book, The Little Blue Room. So
Yes,
it
on
is
Amazon, or you can go to Balboa Press, but I think Amazon is probably easier for most people. It's a one-click free delivery.
It really is. I'm so grateful for you, and
And
it was such a pleasure to meet you.
thank you. And I'm going to tell you, people who have read the book tell me they transform as they're reading it. So it's not just a story and how to. As you read, there's energy in this book. As you read the book, you will transform. The young man who I am his spiritual mama said to me, he read the book and it changed his life. And that's because he really took in all of the lessons and the learning from reading it. So you will transform, I promise.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I need to thank Bridget, as I always do. My right hand, my left hand. I am so grateful for you. All you do for me, your tech wizardry, your creativity, and your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life to be a part of this show. As you all know, this show was guided from spirit for me to create for you, bring you the most amazing metaphysicians, such as Pauline Raphaela, spiritual thought leaders, to help you on your journey, on your path to heal and forgive and accept, and then go into self-love.
Yeah.
So thank you. Next week, my guest is, let me pull him up. It's his name is Dr. T, and he uses non-invasive process to rapidly solve your health challenges, from simple to the most complicated and persistent. He has the TNT process, which is total knowledge technique. And so we are going to visit with Dr. T next Thursday, so I invite you to join. As I am closing out the show, as always, I send you love, blessing, and gratitude. And I am going to leave you with a question. But as soon as I'm done sending you love, blessings, and gratitude, knowing how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it, for not only are you my student, you're my teacher. Not only am I a teacher, I am a student. And I leave the show by asking you, what is your micro miracle today? What I have learned is we tend to look outside for the big miracles. Now, pay attention to the small miracles that happen multiple times a day, and you will find yourself smiling in awe. And as I leave you, I will see you next week, and I send you so much love. You are loved, not just by me, not just by family, friends, community, or colleagues, but you have a plethora of beings on the other side of that veil who are your biggest cheerleaders and who really want to see you heal and succeed and live the life you're divinely meant to live. So ask for what you need, want, and desire. Ask with as much detail as you can, and then allow it to come to you. Be open to how it comes, because it can be very esoteric. Spirit has a great sense of humor, so they might play with you a little bit to get you to lighten up, but just know it's for your highest and best good. I will see you next week, and until then, have the most incredible week you can.